Hello you guys and welcome to another human design video. Today we are going to be looking at the open head center or the open crown center. So if you look at my little diagrams here, the one on the right is the one that has an open head center. If your top triangle is white, that means you have an open head center. If your triangle is colored, like the yellow one here on the right, then that means you have a defined head center. So we're going to be talking about the open one today. If you have it, then stick around. If one of your loved ones has it, then stick around. And if you have a defined head center and you want to know a little bit more about that, let me know in the comments and I'll make a video for you. So let's talk a little bit, because this is the first video I ever make about centers and defined or undefined centers. Let's talk a little bit about what that means and what centers you have defined and what centers you have undefined, colored or white, is quite important, because essentially what a colored center means, or defined center, means that is energy that you have there, that is yours, that is consistent for you. And so what it means is that it's you. You are in those defined centers because that's energy that you are making, your own. When you have an open center, a white center, you are open, right? Open. Think of the word open. It means that you still have energy there, right? We always have energy in our centers, but that energy is not consistent for you because that energy is coming from outside designs, from other human beings or other things that are, filling that energy in for you. And so it's not consistent. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it won't be. And that's one of the things, is that your open centers are the centers that can cause the most trouble for you, where your suffering will come from. They're the ones that will make you feel trapped, because those are the centers where you'll feel for all of your life, not knowing this info about your design, you're going to feel that there's something missing there, right? Because it's not going to feel like it's full. It's not going to feel like you have something there to rely on. And so what happens to people is that they spend their life searching for what they're not, kind of wanting to fill up those centers, when really your design is perfect the way it is, and you're supposed to rely on the centers that are defined for you. And if you're a reflector, you're supposed to not have any centers defined, right? But they are where you get trapped trying to be what you're not. But that being said, the white centers, the places where you're most conditioned, it's actually the places where your conditioning will enter you, where your conditioning will happen, the first 7 years of your life, is also where your wisdom, your potential for wisdom lies. Because if you can identify that those energies are not actually yours, it doesn't mean you're going to stop feeling those energies. It doesn't mean they're going to stop affecting you per se, but you will be able to observe them and to know that they're not yours and to not make decisions based on them. So that's the whole point of knowing what is defined in you and what is undefined. So when we're talking about an undefined head center, you are the type of person that doesn't have a consistent flow of inspiration. Now, don't get me wrong and think that this means that you are not inspired a lot, because it doesn't mean that a person with a defined head center is more inspired than you. It just means, think about it, it's an open center. So it means that you're getting your inspiration from other people, from other things. So what does that mean? It means you're the type of person that loves to go to art galleries, or loves to be around people that are interesting, or that are going to spark your inspiration, right? Maybe artists. Maybe you love watching things like TED Talks. So you're getting inspired by other people's inspiration, right? And what this can cause in you is that if somebody else is really passionate, really inspired about something, you might get very inspired and passionate about that thing as well. And it can cause a sort of overwhelm with you, because you might find inspiration in so many places, in too many places, and you might feel a push to go towards all of these different inspiring things. And every time you go there with one of the inspiring things, you're putting your energy into that thing. And so you might be putting energy into too many inspirations, right? And this can happen a lot to a person with an undefined head, because you are kind of getting, think about it like an overload of inspiration from the outside. It's not things that are coming from your center, from yourself. It's things that are coming from all over the place. And you have the ability to get inspired with so many things, and that can be overwhelming, right? Let's remember, or I'll tell you guys if this is new to you, that the top center and the bottom center, the root and the crown center, or the head, another name for the crown, is a pressure center. So it applies pressure to you to think, to answer questions. And so it could be often pressuring you to get involved with all of these inspirations, which can be really overwhelming, which is why if you have an open head center, meditation could be a really important tool for you to be able to disconnect. I think that's a good word. Disconnect from energies that are essentially not yours. And what meditation can do is that it can give you clarity on what it is that you really do want to get engaged in and what it is that you don't, because there's nothing wrong with getting engaged with other people's inspirations. And when those energies come into your field and they kind of become your own, and they can act as your own inspiration, but you have to be choosing which of those things you're going to pour your energy into, and it can't be all of them, because if not, your energy is going to get depleted. All right, so as we talked before, this can be super overwhelming for you, and it can leave you kind of with your head spinning, feeling like a kaleidoscope, like it's too much. And the thing is that because you're influenced by other people's thoughts and issues and puzzles, and they're big questions in life, they're coming to you, and sometimes they're not even your questions. They're other people's questions, and they're coming to you. And so you get this pressure, again, the pressure from the top to act based on these inspirations that are not yours. And what that can cause is that you end up carrying someone else's flag. And I know, for example, for me, I can see this in my past, like every time I joined a job, I used to work in a corporation, and it's very easy for me to get inspired by their mission and their motto and their vision and become someone that pours all of their energy into that corporation and doing a really good job. But basically what it caused me in the past is carrying someone else's flag, like really giving too much of my energy to something that really wasn't correct for me. And we use that term a lot in human design, correct for me. All that it means is that, I'm not designed to be carrying that person's flag. I'm designed to find what my own flag is and to carry that flag. And that's what my energy should be reserved for, because if not, it causes draining. So that's something to be aware of, to start asking yourself, am I carrying somebody else's flag? I'll give you in a little bit some questions that can be helpful for you if you have an open head center. So where is the wisdom in this center? If you have this center open, there is great potential for wisdom here, because what you can do is you can detach from yourself from the center. You can start becoming the observer. So all of the wisdom in all of the centers has to do with observing. It doesn't mean that you're going to stop, receiving these outside energies, but it means that now you're going to be aware that they're not your own, and that's going to give you a different perspective. And that perspective is going to allow you to observe and to see that even though that energy seems to be affecting you, it's not energy that is meant to change your direction in life, to help you make any decisions. It's just energy that is there, that is in the environment, that is coming into your aura, but that it's not supposed to be affecting who you are or how you're functioning. All right, so when you are able to detach from all of these different ideas and questions coming from all different places, you can see them in a very objective manner, and you can become someone who can see things very clearly, and you can help those people that do have a defined head. You can help them kind of clear up their ideas, because you can see the big picture. You can see what's really going on, and you can make things that are more convoluted into a more simple, kind of explainable process for other people. Or even if it's just like ideas that are in the world that are a little convoluted, you can kind of bring them into your field and resynthesize them and make them your own and make them more understandable for other people. So I believe that this center and the mind center are here for us to use in an awareness space where we can use them to actually share knowledge with other people. So you're a great person to do actually what I'm doing right now, which is taking knowledge that is already out there in the world. But maybe you're not going to go out there and read all of the human design books. I am super excited about doing that, and now what I'm doing is synthesizing this information to make it more simple and useful to you. So that is a really great example of what somebody with an open head center would do. All right, so taking complex ideas and putting it into more simple forms. One thing that you should be careful about is about flash in the pan inspirations, and oh man, can I testify to this with an open head center, is suddenly feeling these big inspirations or flash moment inspirations where something feels right and you feel like, whoa, this idea kind of came in out of nowhere and I feel really, tempted to act on it right now. And for someone with an open head center, what I would advise you to do is to always kind of wait a little and ask yourself if this is an idea that is your own. Because with an open head center, it's going to seem like it's your own. You're going to seem excited, but the idea could have been completely from another person, and that's not going to be a correct use of your energy if you're not completely really inspired by the idea and you're just kind of feeling the energies. All right, so no quick action on inspirations. All right. And here are some questions that can be really helpful for you if you have an open head center. That can, all of these questions that can be associated to the different centers can help us to identify the not self, which means the not self is the person that you are when you are not following your design, when you're not following your authority, when you are making your mind your authority. So essentially what that means is that your life is being, controlled, quote unquote, by your mind and by the conditioning that you've received. So you're acting on fears, you're acting on, ideas that other people have, put into you, conditioned into you, and so you're not going to be living your design, you're not going to be living the fullest potential of your life and exercising your gifts and talents and putting them into the world in a way that is fulfilling and satisfying for you. So these questions can be really helpful to figure out where you could be living that non-self, and so that you can start moving into the more authentic version of yourself. So the first one is, am I actually inspired by this? Like, to stop when you're doing something and stop and actually ask yourself. Like when I was working in that corporation, if I was actually gonna stop and say, am I actually inspired by this? It's crazy, because right away I would have seen that it wasn't something that the idea of it actually inspired me. It was just the energy around me that felt inspirational, and I wanted to be a part of that. But had I stopped to think about it, maybe that could have, made me change my mind faster about what I was doing. But it's funny, it's crazy, because we don't actually stop and ask ourselves these questions. The other one is, so am I actually inspired by this, or is it energy that the other person has for this topic that I find inspiring? So that's exactly the situation I just told you about. Then the other question is, why am I feeling pressure to answer this question? Here's something that can happen a lot with open head is people around you will have questions, small questions and usually big questions about life and what we're doing here, and you're going to find this pressure to answer questions. But as an open headed being, you're not here to answer these questions. You're here to look at that energy and those questions from an objective point of view and just kind of organize the information, okay? And only take in the questions, only try to answer the questions that you really want to put your energy behind, asking your authority about it. All right, so is this question mine to ask? Is it mine to answer? Does it impact me? Right? Because a lot of the time something with an open head is we spend too much time thinking about what's not important and answering questions that are not ours. Is this a path I feel personally inspired or compelled to follow? All right? So that's it right now for the open head. I hope that this was useful for you. I know that for me, when I started learning about this, I right away, one of the things that I do right now is often just check within myself and observe what is in my head right now, what are my inspirations, and really try to differentiate between what's coming from me and my inner knowing that this is something that's really inspiring for me and that I want to, go after and figure out, that I want to answer questions that I want to answer, and that it's not something that is coming from, a seductive energy from somewhere else. So let me know in the comments if this resonated, if you have an open head, and if you have a defined head center, then let me know if you want to know more about that.